opportunity to really punish and reinforce those things. I'm sure Trump will have a few tricks up his sleeve. He always does. But at the end of the day, I agree with Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden needs to keep his cool. That doesn't mean be weak. That doesn't mean that you don't take some tough shots, but don't let Trump get under your skin, which is really hard. We can say that in our interview here. They're on a stage in front of like 100 million Americans. So it's really tough to execute that. But if Joe Biden does that, I think he'll have a very good night tonight.
David Plouffe, former campaign manager and advisor to President Obama, host now of the Campaign HQ podcast. David, thanks for being here. It's really good to have you here on this night. It is now just past 9 o'clock on the East Coast, which means we are about to start. You see Chris Wallace there taking his seat. He will be the sole moderator tonight. There will be 3 presidential debates in total. Each one will have a solo moderator. We're seeing the First Lady, Melania Trump, arrive. We're seeing her. She'll be sitting there on the sort of Trump side of the House with lots of Trump family members and White House personnel. We don't know very much. We were just talking about this, the 3 of us earlier, a moment ago, that we don't know very much about who is in the room. There would usually be like 900 or 1,000 people in a room like this for this debate. Because of COVID, there's, we believe, less than 100. The campaigns don't appear to have sort of pulled any stunts or anything with anybody who they've got. Susan Page of USA Today. We expect it to begin right now.
Good evening. From the University of Utah in Salt Lake City.
Rooms on their TV. For a number of years before he ran, has pretty much
again, and that is the
ready for some tough questions?
You're going to be fair.
I'm going to be fair.
Just be fair.
But last time, I remember you saying to me, bring it on, bring it on.
No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for fairness. That's all.
You're going to get fairness. But you're okay with some tough questions.
No, I'm not.
You're not okay with tough
I want
questions?
to be fair. You don't ask Biden tough questions.
Me?
Huh?
I don't even.
It's terrible.
I
It's
only
terrible.
interview you.
You know that. Okay, are you ready?
Everybody ready?
We're out.
Okay. Can I start?
1 second. Close the door. Lift just a little drop. Should be fine.
Am I okay?
You're good.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm ready. So we have the pandemic. On your watch, we've had racial strife, we've had looting, Why do you want this job? Why do you want to be president again?
Because we've done a great job and it's not finished yet. And when I finish, this country will be in a position like it hasn't been maybe ever. The economy is already roaring back, and other people aren't going to bring it back. Certainly the person that we're dealing with is not going to bring it back. They're going to raise taxes. They're going to take away your Second Amendment. They're going to do things that nobody would even believe. It's radical. There's never been anything like it. No,
Let me ask you-
we are positioned like never before. We're going to have a fantastic year next year.
Let me ask you what you think your, the biggest domestic priority is for you right now.
Well,
Or next
ultimately, let me, and I'll tell you, it was happening. We created the greatest economy in the history of our country, and the other side
You
was
know
coming
that, you
in.
know that's not true.
It is totally true.
No.
Best unemployment numbers, best employment numbers, 160 million people working, highest stock market price. You wouldn't say that to Biden, what you just said to me. If he had it, you would never say that to Biden. We had the best stock market price ever, and we're getting close to that price again. We had the best, everything was the best. Our companies were doing better than they've ever done before. You cannot even think about talking about that.
Well, I'm not gonna fact check you, you know.
Well, you don't have to
I'm
fact
not
check
gonna
me.
do that.
I mean, excuse
But-
me,
but-
the stock market was at its highest. The unemployment numbers for African Americans, for Asian Americans, for Hispanic Americans, for everybody were the best. Every number, virtually every number was the best. We had the best economy ever. And what was happening is things were coming
Well,
together.
I asked you what your single biggest
Well, no, what
priority was.
I'm going to say that.
Oh.
And the other side was starting to call, let's get together. There was going to be unity. And then we got hit with the plague, and we had to do it again. And we closed it up, and I saved millions of lives we saved. And now the economy is growing again at record numbers, 11.4 million people employed in the last short
But
period
what's
of
the
time.
priority? I mean, those are all the
Yeah,
good things.
the
What do you want
priority
to
now
solve?
is to get back to normal, get back to where we were, to have the economy rage and be great with jobs and everybody be happy, and that's where we're going, and that's where we're heading.
And who is our biggest foreign adversary?
I would say China, they're an adversary, they're a competitor, they're a foe in many ways, but they're an adversary. I think what happened was disgraceful, should never have happened. They should never have allowed this plague to get out of China and go throughout the world, 188 countries, should never have happened.
So there, so.
Leslie, 1 second, please.
What's wrong?
And the flag is wobbling, I think, because it's under a vent perhaps behind you, Tom.
His hair's coming down a little bit.
You can't have the flag
It doesn't look
flying.
nice blowing it.
No, it's distracting.
Oh, really?
I can see it.
Yes, turn the arrow. I think we're better, guys.
I'm going with or without you
It's
guys.
not moving.
No,
Let's
it's
go.
not. Okay, at this stage, 4 years ago, you were behind in the polls, you are now, and you pulled it out. But this time, you have kind of a double migraine. You have unemployment claims going up, you have COVID cases going up. I mean, it's like the gods have suddenly decided to conspire against you.
I don't think so at all, no. I think
Well,
we've
what
done a great
about
job
these-
with COVID.
Yeah,
And
but
we've
the
hired,
numbers are going up.
excuse me, 11.4 million people. Why? Because the last report was just a little bit off. And this is
No.
without,
Sir, excuse me, cases are up in about 40 states.
okay, you know why cases are up also? Because we do more testing. If we didn't do testing, cases would be way
Yeah,
down.
but why are you saying they're not up? You know, Pete, you're saying things that people can see.
No, what I'm saying to you, Leslie, is the following. We do more testing than any country in the world by far. Second is India with 1.5 billion people. We do more testing. If we did half the testing, we'd have half the cases. If we did no testing, like many countries, we would have very few cases. Because we do so much testing, the fake news media loves to say cases are up. The fact is, we've done a very, very good job.
Cases are up?
We have done, that's right, because we're doing so much testing.
But cases, will you at least say cases are up?
Yes, cases are up
Okay.
because we are doing tremendous testing, and we're finding where there's a problem. Testing is a good thing, but it's also very misleading.
When you're out there saying we've turned the corner, this thing is disappearing, and
That's right, we have
people
turned
can
the corner.
see,
We have turned the
people
corner.
can see cases going up all over in the Midwest, in the Mountain West. Record numbers of
We have
cases
turned
in
the
some
corner.
states.
We understand the disease. We understand the elderly, and we're taking care of them at a level like nobody's ever taken care of the elderly, especially the elderly with diabetes problems, heart problems. We are taking care of them like nobody's ever taken care of them. We also understand youth, 99.9%. As an example, Barron had it, and it was gone in no time. It was just like he had it, it was gone. Hardly knew he even had it. So we are taking care of our people. But we've done a great job with the ventilators, with the equipment, with stocking governors that were not stocked. We've made a lot of governors look very good that shouldn't look good, and that's okay with me.
Okay, let me ask you something about suburban women.
Yeah.
You said the other day to suburban women, will you please like me, please?
Oh, I didn't say that. You know, that's so misleading the way I say jokingly, suburban women, you should love me because I'm giving you security and I got rid of the worst regulation. See, the way you said that
Yeah.
is why people think of you and everyone else as fake news. I said kiddingly, suburban women, you should love me. I got rid of a regulation
You
that
said
would bring
both.
low-income housing into suburbia that would destroy suburbia. And I said that in a joking way. The way you have it, it's like, oh, like I'm begging. I'm kidding. Play it, and I'm kidding. That is such a misleading question, Leslie.
But you're behind the suburban women in the polls.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I really doubt it.
One of the
I'm
things,
saving suburbia. He's going to destroy suburbia. He's got a regulation, which I terminated, that he would put back, and even worse, that will bring low-income housing projects into suburbia. And women understand that, and they've really learned about it over the last 2-3 weeks. I terminated the worst regulation you could possibly have. It's gone. And suburban women appreciate it. They want security, they want safety. Look, I've been endorsed by almost every police department, almost every law enforcement group in the country. He's been endorsed by almost nobody. Suburban women want security.
but the polls show that you're behind with them. And one of the reasons, let me
You're
say
not looking
this.
at recent polls.
One of the reasons is that they don't feel you're being upfront about the pandemic. And when you
So-
say there are fewer, we're rounding the corner, and
We
you
are
tell
rounding
Rob
the corner.
Woodward that
We
you
are rounding the
deliberately like to downplay this.
We are rounding the corner.
Are you
We're rounding the
deliberately
corner, we're
downplaying it?
doing well. We're doing well, we understand the disease. I saved millions of people, 2.2 million people were supposed to die. You go back and you look at your models, 2.2 million people. We saved tremendous numbers of people. Plus, I closed it very early from China, heavily infected, and even from Europe, heavily infected. We've done a good job. We've done maybe a great job. What we haven't done a good job on is convincing people like you, because you're really quite impossible to convince, but that's okay. And the economy now is coming back, and it's coming back very strongly. And people see that, Leslie.
There are more unemployment claims, and the economy has kind of
Leslie,
stalled
we just
a little
picked up 11.4 million jobs. It's the largest number in
What
the
about these
history of our country in a
unemployment
short
claims
period of
going
time.
up? I mean, how can
Leslie,
you ignore
you
that?
didn't hear me. We just picked up 11.4 million jobs. It's in a short period of time. It's the largest number in the history of our country.
But are you denying that the unemployment claims have gone up? Is that
What I'm
is
saying is,
happened?
we got hit by something, not my fault, not
No,
your fault.
no.
We got hit from something that came out of China. I got stuck with it. And let me tell you, before it happened, we were doing so good, and now we're going to be doing, and we are doing good. But
Well,
look at as an example, last week, a few days ago, Gallup did a poll. 56% of the people said that they're better off now during a pandemic than they were during Obama and Biden. 56%. It was a record number, right?
Yes, but I want to know if you're what, ignoring the fact that there are unemployment claims?
No, I don't ignore it.
Okay, well, what are you saying about
What
it?
I'm saying is that we got hit with somebody. It's not our fault. We
I
got
know,
hit.
but what
And
if-
we've done a good job, not a good job, we've done a great job. Remember that number, a very important number. 56% say they're happier now than they were 4 years ago under Biden and Obama, right? I'll put his name first. Biden and Obama. And they didn't have a pandemic, although Biden did have a big problem with H1N1, which he says in reverse, with the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a disaster. And his own chief of staff said it was a total disaster. They didn't know what they were doing.
Well, can we go back for 1 second to the pandemic? Because you called Dr. Fauci and other health officials idiots. And
Dr. Fauci, when did I call him an idiot?
I'm wondering if you
When did I
think
call him an idiot?
you called them idiots. I wonder if you
Well, he's been
think-
wrong a lot. I like him, but he's
I
been wrong a
I
lot.
wonder if you think that masks don't work. Is
Well,
that
Dr.
what
Fauci
you're
originally
saying?
said, it's a very
No, but
complex
what do you
subject.
say? Do you say
Let me
masks
just tell
don't
you, you
work?
mentioned Dr. Fauci said, don't wear masks. Then he said, wear them.
What do you
I
think?
say that I feel masks possibly work. But certainly you want to stay away a certain distance, socially distance, etc. But I would say a mask works, and I have nothing against masks, and I tell people to wear masks. I have
Well,
no
tell me
problem.
then about these rallies you've been having.
A lot of people are
With
wearing
people-
masks, and they're
A lot of people
outside.
aren't. I'm watching all these people jammed in together, and I'm seeing most of them without masks. And I'm wondering the message that you're sending with these pictures coming across.
Take a
the
look.
road.
Yesterday, we were in Arizona, record-setting rallies, numbers of people like nobody's seen before.
Well,
Many,
you
many
used to have
masks. I
bigger
watched.
rallies. You
What?
used to have bigger rallies.
No, these are much bigger than I ever
I
had.
don't want to bigger over
You
that.
know,
Tell me about
you're so
the mask
negative,
wearing.
you're so negative. These are the biggest rallies we've ever had. You just come in here with that negative attitude. These are the biggest rallies we've ever had. We are having numbers like we've never had.
Tell me about the
There is
masks.
more, excuse me, no, but you made a statement. There's more enthusiasm right now for us than we ever had before, ever. And you will see that in a short period of time.
But what about the masks?
A lot of people are wearing masks. I mean, I looked yesterday, a lot of people were, and it's outdoor. They want it outdoor, and we're doing it
But
outdoor.
I can't believe after what happened in the Rose Garden here, after the announcement, with all the people getting sick, that you are not being more strongly encouraging about wearing masks at your
I
rallies.
tell people to wear
But you
masks.
don't.
Leslie, we hand out thousands of
But
masks.
you
at
look
every
out and
rally.
you're not wearing them, and you don't say, please put on
Well,
your
have you
mask.
been looking yesterday? Take a look yesterday in Arizona. Everybody behind me
But
had a
I'm
mask.
looking at other places. I'm looking at Wisconsin, which is a hot spot right
Right,
now.
right. A lot of people had
A lot
masks.
of people
And it was
without masks.
outside.
And you don't get up there and say, look, you know, come on.
Go
I don't
ahead.
want you to
What's your
get
next
sick.
question, Leslie? We're outside. The rallies are bigger than they've ever been. There's more enthusiasm than we've ever had. There has never been anything like what you're witnessing now, and you'll see that soon.
Okay, but I'm asking about masks, not about the size of your rallies. I'm asking why
You
you want to say.
commented on the size of the
I
rally.
know, but
You
I'm
said they're not
asking-
as big as they used to be, and I'm telling you they're much bigger.
Okay, but I'm asking you now about the masks. Why aren't you getting up there and saying, I had it, I don't want you to get it, so please
Leslie,
put your mask
We
on.
hand out masks to everybody that comes to the rally. We tell them to wear the masks.
And you don't, and they love you.
Oh, I
and
don't
they-
know, Leslie. I
If
tell
they
them wear
heard you
them.
say it,
I have no problem, no
they
problem.
love you, they would pay
Next question, go
attention
ahead,
to
go ahead.
anything you said.
I hope you're right. Go ahead.
Okay, this is important. Okay, I'll ask you another health question, okay?
Okay.
You promised that there was gonna be a new health package, healthcare plan.
Yeah,
You said that it was gonna be great, you said it's ready, it's gonna be
It will
ready,
be.
it's all ready. It'll be here in 2 weeks, it's gonna be like nothing you've ever seen before, and of course, we haven't seen it. So why didn't you develop a health plan?
it is developed, it is fully developed, it's going to be announced very
When?
soon when we
You
see
say
what
that
happens with
over and
Obamacare,
over.
which is not good. And when we see what happens with Obamacare.
But if the Supreme Court,
And it will be much less expensive than Obamacare, which is a disaster. And it will take care of people with pre-existing conditions.
But your plan was to repeal and replace, and if the Supreme Court finishes Obamacare, there will be all these people stranded,
No,
because
there
there's
won't.
no
We
replacement.
will make a deal, and we will have a great healthcare plan
But you keep
with
saying that.
less expensive, and a much better plan.
Why haven't we seen it?
You have seen it. I've been putting out pieces all over the place, and we actually have plans. And we have 180 million people right now have a plan. And you haven't been watching. You haven't been watching.
But what about the pre-existing, people with pre-existing conditions? If the Supreme
Are
Court.
protected. Will be
They will.
totally protected.
How?
They'll be protected,
How?
Leslie. I mean, the people with
How?
pre-existing conditions are going to be
How?
protected, as they are now.
How?
In any plan we do,
But there
they will
isn't
be
a plan.
protected. Leslie, people with pre-existing conditions will be always protected, always.
But if the Supreme Court ends this, Obamacare,
Well, we'll have to see what happens. It's got a ways to go. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it'll end, I hope that they end it. It'll be so good if they
And
end
if
it.
they end it,
Because we
the-
will come up with a plan, which
Will.
will be yeah, we will.
but you said it would already.
We have large sections of it already done. And we've already come up with plans. Take a look at your various secretaries, various plans that we've already come up with. And also, you know, a large part of this country has private health insurance.
Yes.
180 million people. And under that, Biden, he doesn't have any clue, but under that, 180 million people will lose their health care. And they'll go to socialized medicine, and that's not going to be acceptable.
Okay.
180 million people, Leslie, will go to socialized medicine. It
And-
won't
and-
be, it will not be acceptable.
And if the Affordable Care Act is determined to be unconstitutional,
Then we're gonna have a new,
whatever,
then we're gonna have new, and it's
There
gonna
will-
be very good, and
yeah,
it's
but
gonna.
you keep saying that and don't show it to us. And so people with pre-existing
We've come up with
conditions-
many plans, Leslie, and we have, they're already in existence. I'll tell you what, after this interview, I will show you short-term, longer-term, I'll show you different plans. We've come up with many plans. And we cut the individual mandate out. You know, the individual mandate is gone. That was the worst part of Obamacare, that's gone.
Okay, all of that, I grant you, all of that. But if there's no plan, a replacement plan.
Right.
And the Supreme Court says that Obamacare goes away, people with pre-existing conditions will be stranded.
No.
And that's just a fact.
It's wrong. It's
No.
wrong. A new plan will happen.
But will.
And we won't do anything, will and is. We won't do anything and no plan unless we have pre-existing conditions covered. And the individual mandate, which you don't want to mention, was terminated. It was terminated. Individual mandate was terminated. That is the biggest thing that's happened. And that actually makes Obamacare not Obamacare. Because under that, you would pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. We got it terminated through the legislature, signed, done. That means Obamacare is no longer Obamacare. We got rid of the most important element of Obamacare, and it was the worst element of Obamacare that nobody wanted, nobody liked. So Obamacare essentially was terminated as we know it. Now we have the carcass of Obamacare.
Well, part of the
We've
carcass
managed
is
it well.
pre-existing.
Leslie, we've managed it well. You know, I had a choice to make. When we got rid of the individual mandate, nobody believed we could do that, and I did it. Right? I had a choice to make. Do I manage the remainder of whatever's left of this whole thing called Obamacare, which is no good? Do I manage it well or manage it badly? If I manage it well, politically maybe that's not
Well, then
good.
do you wanna
I
leave it?
decided to manage it well.
Do you want to leave it? I mean,
No,
the
I don't want to leave it. I want to see what
existing
happens. Here's what happens.
Well, but why
We may
not
be
leave it?
stuck with it if we lose in the Supreme Court, in which case we're wasting a lot of words. If we win, we will come up with and we will do that, come up with a much better health care for much less money, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions.
Are you going to say that you didn't say this? Because I saw you say this.
Go
on
ahead.
television.
Oh, you're really trying to. I wish you would interview Joe Biden like you interview me. It would be so good. You know what?
You
The-
like this,
the-
I thought. I thought you
I don't
liked
mind it, I don't mind it, but when I watch him walk out of a store, he's in the midst of a scandal, his family is corrupt, okay, he's corrupt, he's a corrupt politician, and he's walking with the ice cream. And the question the media asks him, what kind of ice cream, what flavor ice cream do you have? And he's in the midst of a scandal,
He's not.
and he's taking, of course he is,
No,
Leslie.
come on.
Of course he is.
You
See
know, they
that?
had the Senate
So
committee,
you're like
Republicans.
you're like big tech. You're protecting him, and everyone is except for
Yeah, but
few people.
you're taking something that was investigated
Leslie,
by a
let me ask
Republican
you.
committee.
You think
in
it's
the Senate.
okay for the mayor of Moscow's wife to give him millions and millions of dollars, $3.5 million, to give his family $3.5? Do you think it's okay for Hunter Biden to say that we're giving the big guy 10% of this massive amount of money they're taking in? Do you think it's okay for all of these horrible things that you've seen where they're getting hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, where China gives them $1.5 billion to manage the family, $1.5 billion, and then he's supposed to negotiate? Let me tell you, it's the second biggest scandal. The biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no
Leslie.
real evidence of that.
Of course there is. It's
No.
all over the place. Leslie, they
Sir,
spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't
No,
verify.
you won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't
Look,
put
let me tell
on
you.
things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied
And-
on my
Well, we
campaign.
can't
It's been
verify.
totally verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign, they got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie, and you know that, but you just don't want to put it on the air.
As a matter of fact, I don't know that.
Okay,
And you're out there.
so why don't you get back to your interview and let's go.
All right. So you said in the briefing room, nobody likes me. It can only be my personality.
I said that jokingly. That is sarcastic. Nobody likes me. It must be my personality. I say it all the time. Nobody likes me. It must be my personality. I say it all the time, Leslie.
Do you think that your tweets and your name calling are turning people off?
No, I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't have social media because the media is
The name
corrupt.
call.
In my
Let's talk
opinion,
about-
the media is corrupt. But,
You know,
but
you
the
told-
media is fake. And frankly, if I didn't have social media, I'd have no way of getting out my voice.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked why you keep saying fake
Yeah.
media?
Yeah.
You said to me, I say that because I need to discredit you so that when you say negative things about me, no one will believe
I
you.
don't have to discredit you.
But that's what you
You've
told me.
discredited yourself.
You told me that.
Leslie, you've discredited yourself. When you say that you're not going to cover Biden, you're going to ask him what flavor ice cream he has, okay?
That's not
Instead
me.
of why did Hunter get $3.5 million from Moscow? Instead of why is an energy company paying your son $183,000 a month or whatever they're paying him, and he has no experience in energy? You know, you discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about
And
that.
you're
I just know it's a
making-
laptop,
and
and they
you're-
haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in your rallies.
I don't know about the two
This
gentlemen you
is the most
mentioned.
important issue in the country.
It's a
right
very
now.
important issue to
For
find
you
out
to
whether or
talk
not a
about.
man's corrupt who's running for president, who's accepted money from China and from Ukraine and from Russia.
All these
Yeah, I think
things
that's
have
an
been
important issue.
investigated and
It's
discredited.
incredible the way you can try and say this and sit there and look me in the eye and say it.
A
He
Republican
accepted money,
committee.
his family, from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, and from other places.
And a
His
Republican-
brother, who didn't have experience, became a big builder in Iraq without experience. Take a look at what's going on, Leslie, and then you say how that shouldn't be discussed.
I'm saying,
It's the biggest scandal out there, Leslie.
and you think it's the biggest issue to campaign on.
I think it's one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen, and you don't cover it.
biggest.
You want to talk about,
Well, because it can't be verified.
you want to
I'm
talk about
telling you.
insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me,
We
they found
cannot
the
verify.
laptop, Leslie,
It can't be
Leslie.
verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Insignificant things, like COVID.
Why do you say that?
Because
Even the
it's
family
verified.
hasn't, the family on the laptop, he's gone into hiding. For 5 days, he's gone into hiding.
He's preparing for your debate.
Oh, it's taken him 5 days to prepare? I doubt it. I doubt it. Okay,
All
go
right,
ahead.
all right. So let's get back to the name calling, okay? And whether you think it's turning people off.
No, I
Because
think, look, it is
you
what
call
it is.
Biden stupid.
Where are we sitting, man? Where are we sitting?
In the Roosevelt Room
Of what?
of the White House.
That's right. How did I get here? How did I get here? We're in the White
But
House.
what are you saying? Oh, but by name calling, you think that
No,
that's
not by name
appealing?
calling, by, doing the right thing. And we have a great record. I mean, we got hit by a pandemic, wasn't my fault. But it was China's fault. But Leslie,
The reason.
we're in the White House. The press is very biased, very, very biased. And I'm not talking
You're
about
trying
name
to
calling. I'm talking
discredit
about,
us.
no,
Yes.
no, I'm not. You're discrediting yourself, Leslie.
No, you are.
Leslie, you're discrediting yourself. When you don't go after Biden, with the corruption in the Biden family,
Going after Biden? You've asked me 5,
when
6,
you
7
don't, when
times.
you don't go after what happened in the Russia witch hunt, which turned out to be a total phony with no collusion whatsoever. When you don't do that, you discredit yourself. The press, is highly discredited right now. You do know that. So you discredit yourself.
Half, I don't even know where to go here. Half the country loves you, but the other half doesn't. And I'm wondering why you don't.
They were
think-
starting to, Leslie, when the economy was just prior to to the plague, they were starting to really we were all starting to like each other. It was coming together. There was going to be a lot of
I've heard you say
unification.
that before, and I don't think
Okay,
we were
I
coming
mean, I'm just
together.
telling you.
I think we've had disunity.
People were calling me,
Unfortunately.
about coming together. And then we got hit by the plague, and now we're rebuilding it again, and it's going well.
And do you think that you do anything to unify the country?
I do. I think I do unify the country. I think I will unify the country. It's called success. When our country becomes,
What
again,
about the rabid partisanship in the country? Do you take any responsibility for the country being divided against itself? Do you feel that?
I'd like not to, but, perhaps everybody has to take a little responsibility for it. But when people put out phony witch hunts, when they spy on your campaign, you have to fight back. And if you don't fight back, you're not sitting here very long. You go back home. You go back home to mommy.
I've been listening to you. We don't know how long we've been here, and it's just attack.
I don't think so. I mean, look, it's not attack.
It is.
It's defense. It's defense
No,
against attacks.
No, you've been attacked.
It's defense against attacks.
You're very aggressive.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't view it that way. I'm defending myself, and I'm defending the institution of the presidency. Very important thing.
Can you?
Hi, Mike. Are you having a good time, Mike, watching? You know Mike, right? Our great vice president.
I do.
You think she'd ask questions like this of,
Wow, you
I don't
looked
think
it all
so.
that.
You think
Can
she'd
you-
ask questions like this of Joe? I don't think so.
Can you characterize your supporters? Can you?
Yeah, I think I can. People that love our country. And people that don't want to see the stores get looted and burned down, and people that don't want to see riots, and they don't want to see anarchists. Yeah, I think I can. These are
And-
people that love our country,
Do you make?
and they don't like to see,
But you don't seem.
they don't like to see policemen get shot and not be able to defend themselves. They don't like to see rioting in the middle of Fifth Avenue or in the middle of other streets in Portland or other places. And they like it when their president gets the endorsement of virtually every police group and, frankly, almost everybody having to do with law and order. Positive law and order. But you know what they are? They're people that love our country more than anything else. and they like to see our country thrive.
But do you think that when you hold rallies and encourage people to say, lock her up, the way you
I don't encourage them, they say it.
And you
Hillary
enjoy it.
Clinton,
You
let
don't
me
say
just say,
don't do
Hillary
that.
Clinton she deleted 33,000 emails after she got a subpoena from the United States Congress.
Why
No,
is
that's
that-
illegal.
I know, but why?
Now,
I'm
why
not-
somebody
I don't
doesn't
know.
do something
But
about
why
it?
is this still an issue? Why do
I think
people,
it's an
they're
issue.
not gonna vote
To
on
me,
that.
it's an issue.
She ran last time.
Excuse me, when they say lock up, it's not me. They say it. It starts, it
You
ends up
encourage
being,
it.
I don't encourage it.
Yes.
No, if I mention her name about something, they go crazy.
Well, what about the governor of Michigan who had this plot that people were gonna, I think.
I don't know anything
your
about the
supporter-
plot, but I can tell you this.
I'm telling you about the
It was
plot.
our Justice Department that is the one that's helping her.
Yeah.
My Justice Department, if you call it that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
our Justice Department that's helping her. And, people aren't they're not liking her so much because she's got everybody locked down. Now, we just won a Supreme Court where it's unconstitutional. The only one she doesn't have locked down is her husband, who went sailing and did things that he wasn't supposed to be doing.
You are very powerful, and the people who love you with passion. And if you go after somebody the way you've been going after her,
I
they
haven't
take it
gone
to
after her.
heart, and then there
No,
are
no.
plots and threats, and the
I
same
haven't
with
gone after
Dr.
her.
You did.
I've helped her. It was
You
our
did go
Justice
after her.
Department
You
that's
criticized
helping
her.
her. Oh, I do criticize her, yeah.
Well,
I
that's
think the
going
way she
after her.
locked down Michigan is a disgrace.
But
The
when
way
you-
she closed churches in Michigan is a disgrace. I think it's disgraceful, what she's done. I do.
You wanna lock
And
her
by the
up.
way, that's other, of course not. That's other governors also. They happen to be Democrats, and they've closed up their states, and they're causing a lot of problems with these lockdowns. Suicide, drugs, alcohol, a lot of bad things are happening, and they should open up their states. Carefully, but they should open up
Well,
their
when you
states.
say open up, you don't say carefully, you say open up. You don't have
Oh, I say
an
carefully.
aggressive program to say open up with masks, open up with social distancing.
The
You just
governors
say
run
open
their
up.
states.
No,
We
but
help
the
them a lot,
message
but the
was
governors
you.
run their states.
You are.
And the governors have to do what they have to do.
But you-
But when they lock down Michigan, she's doing a tremendous disservice.
Well, what about
Same thing
you
with
saying-
Pennsylvania,
what
same
if-
thing with North Carolina.
What about
These
you
are
saying-
Democrat governors, and they're doing a great disservice.
What about you saying, let's open up, but let's wear masks. Let's
Well, I
open up.
say-
You don't.
I say, I'm not against masks at all.
But you're not
I
for
say,
them.
sure I am, wear them. But I also say socially distance. I say all the things. But you know what? Well, look, with you, nothing I said would be any good listening.
That's not
okay?
true, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. But in the
That's not
meantime,
true.
we're having a record comeback because if you look, we're the fastest growing nation in the world after this pandemic, by far. And we sunk less than any other nation, relatively speaking. And we're coming back very strong, very, very strong.
So you don't want to lock up Governor Whitmer, but you want to
When did I
lock
say
up
lock her up? I
the
never said.
Bidens, you want to lock
Wait
up
a minute, when did I say
Obama.
lock her up? When did I say lock up the governor? I didn't say lock up the governor.
All right, but you.
Why
wanna-
would I lock her up?
you
No, but
wanna-
why did you say you don't want to lock up the governor? Of course I don't want to lock her up. Why would I lock her up?
Because you were in front of a rally of people saying it, encouraging it.
I never said it, Leslie. I never said lock
So
up
you
the
don't want to
governor.
lock up the governor.
Leslie, it's such a vicious thing you just said. I never said lock up the governor of Michigan. I would never say that.
Well, did you-
Why would I say that?
Well,
Because
what about the Bidens?
she's doing
Do
lockdowns.
you want to lock up the Bidens?
No, I don't want to lock them up,
What
but they
about
certainly
Obama?
should be looked at.
Obama, you want to lock up Obama?
No, I don't want to lock him up, but he spied on my campaign.
Do you want to lock up
Obama
Hillary?
and Biden spied on my campaign. Do you know what that is? Do you know what they did? Do you know how horrible it is what they did?
But
you
it's
don't,
never
you don't
been
get it.
verified.
It's been totally verified,
No,
Leslie.
I'm sorry.
You'll find out, but it's been totally verified.
You've all but said that Attorney General Barr should go after President Obama. Now, if you lose, you will be here, okay? If you lose. How would you feel if then President Biden went after you?
Oh, he probably will, because I think he's a very dishonest guy. And he probably will look for something, probably will, we'll see. But you know what? Attorney General Barr has been very nice, that's all I can tell you. He's been very nice. He's been very respectful.
Criticized him.
He's been very, no, I didn't criticize him, it's just a different personality. They're very lucky, because the evidence is overwhelming. And Attorney General Barr is a great gentleman. It's a great gentleman. They are very lucky. Now, I can't tell you what's gonna happen, I don't know.
I know.
Because I purposely like to stay out of it. You know what? I don't like to get involved. I can if I want, but I don't like to get involved. But I think they've been very, very lucky. Attorney General Barr is a gentleman.
You know, I didn't want to have this kind of.
Of course you did.
No, I didn't.
Of course you did.
No, I didn't.
Well, then you brought up a lot of subjects that
Well, I said
were
I'm gonna ask
inappropriately
you
brought
tough
up.
questions.
They were inappropriately
But-
brought up, right from the beginning. No, your first question was, this is going to be tough questions. Well,
It
when you
is.
set up the interview, your first statement
You're
was,
president. Don't you
Excuse
think
me,
you
no,
should
no,
be
no.
accountable to the
listen,
American people?
your first statement to me, this is going to be tough questions. Well, I don't mind that. But when you set up the interview, you didn't say that. You said, oh, let's have a lovely interview. And here's what I do say.
So why?
You don't ask Joe Biden. I saw your interview with Joe, the interview with
I
Joe
never
Biden.
did a Joe Biden.
It was a
interview.
joke. The interview, 60 Minutes. I see Joe Biden giving softball after softball. I've seen all of his interviews. He's never been asked a question that's hard.
Okay, but forget him for a minute.
No, but you
You're
start with
president.
me.
You're president. and-
Excuse me, Leslie, you started with me. Your first statement was, are you ready for tough questions?
I do.
That's no way to talk. No way to talk.
Leslie, one second, this is the first warning, I think we have 5 minutes until we have the vice president step in, is that about right?
Well, I think we have enough, really, we have enough of
Yeah, I
it.
think we're ready for the vice president now.
I think we have enough of an interview here. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go meet for 2 seconds, okay? Thanks. I'll see you later. Thanks.
Welcome to the live debate. They are already going on the C-SPAN, so we're going to jump right into that. They just came out and announced that everybody has to wear a mask. Several members of the Trump family were already seen not wearing masks, so that has to change. Let's pull up the C-SPAN right now and bring that up live for us. Give me a second here to do that. I'm your Kevinly father, Kevin Williams. This is what we do. I'm not muted. You guys are like 8 minutes behind if you think I'm muted. Can anybody hear me? You guys have to wear masks, yeah, at home, especially in the shower. That's according to Senator John Kennedy. So if you have any problems with that, you let him know. Let me know if you can hear me. We are going to go right to the C-SPAN feed in just a moment here because they are doing some pre-debate rigmarole explaining to the kids that they're not supposed to yell, etc. during the debate. I just typed in yell instead of YouTube into the old computer machine here. And 109,000 people are watching this on the C-SPAN. So let's bring the C-SPAN over to you guys so you can hear it too. Okay, Allison can hear me. Hey, thanks to Allison and Chuck or Charlie. I don't know which one was actually the one who contributed. It could be the same person. Kind of tricky. Marcy, Jojo Rabbit, at random. Who else? I know I'm forgetting somebody. Allison, thanks to all of you for donating to the internet funds. The internet is looking great so far. We're in good shape, so hopefully it's going to hold up for us tonight. Let's see what they're saying here.
Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Tonight's a night.
And tonight's gonna be a good night. And tonight's gonna be a loud night. And tonight's gonna be a dumb night.
Their support, Janet Brown, thank you. Thank you to the co-chairs.
Let's get it up. They were muted. I wasn't muting them purposefully.
Kind of easy. It's amazing. When times get tough, that's when real partnerships get formed that stick. And this has been a bonding experience. So thank you so much to the commission. Thank you
Oh,
to
we're not allowed to clap.
HCA Healthcare. They're the ones that have given you all these tests and have made sure that everybody here tonight.
Got the new connection. I got AT&T flowing. Our upload speed has gone from struggling to get above 0. So I was having to broadcast at about 1,000 kilobytes per second. So about 1 meg is what I could upload with, sending the signal to you. Now I'm getting consistently 20. So from struggling to get to 1 to 20. So thank you everyone for contributing to that fund. I truly appreciate it. And I haven't updated the credits yet because I'm a terrible person. But today has been, the guy was here for about, 3.5, 4 hours this morning making this all work. And so thank you to the wonderful patrons of myself. Thank you to the proprietors of this abode. Right now I have a 50-foot internet cable running from the back of my computer all the way across their living room, all the way to the new router. And it's like, well, that's not going to last. But for the debate, they totally understand. I said, hey, just for the debate. It's a flat cable. I've laid it. Hopefully nobody kills themselves. So, yeah, if you could get those tubes down to me, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Who was first today? Who wants to be first?
You're probably wondering who these two people are that are standing here beside me.
No, I can't see them.
This is Molly Deakins, and this is Kendra Turner. They co-chaired the student volunteer group of 250 students who made this thing happen here at Belmont.
I know, but the cable internet guy watched some SNL while he was loading things up. We're almost ready for the debate, guys. Let's see. Here we go.
Generous contribution to this year's debates.
Congratulations, Colleen.
Now it is my distinct honor to introduce Dr. Bob Fisher.
Yeah. That's not what we were
Debates have also created civic education opportunities for the schools and communities.
Nobody cares. Okay, so what they came out and said earlier is, hey, everybody be quiet. It's going to be a debate. A lot of people haven't voted yet, and this is their chance to decide, so let's not destroy that for them. And there's Melania. And here we go. Gonna be so much yelling. No one's gonna yell. Trump's not gonna yell for like the first 2 times as he sits there silently. But about the 3rd time, he's gonna start yelling, and we're gonna hear it because they're only 12 feet apart. Have we got volume? I don't think anything's happening. Hold on, guys. Let me pump the volume up on the Caspan so that, I have to enable it. Hold on. I also found out that my my Avast antivirus was slowing me the hell down. So I got rid of that and loaded up the AVG. Okay, how can I bump this up? Hey everybody, this is what we do. This is the live stream. We'll be fact checking. You can see a scoreboard over there in that corner, and I can't believe I actually pointed the right direction because I'm opposite of what you guys see. So up in that far corner there, that is the scoreboard. We'll be keeping track of the lies and giving Trump and or Biden a score just depending on how I feel things are going. And if you see something that you're like, oh, that's a point for Biden, let me know and I'll ignore it. Or a point for Trump in that matter. So it'll be interesting. I think we're going to cover the whole Hunter Biden thing right away. And all he has to say really is, I have never had any involvement in my son's business. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I have no foreign investments. I do not have a secret bank account in China. And since the other mic is off for 2 minutes, just sit there and wink at the camera for the rest of my 2 minutes.
The moderator for this evening's debate is Kristen Welker of NBC News.
Wow.
Good evening, everyone.
Obviously, she needs no introduction.
Thank you so much for being here. It is such an honor for me to moderate this debate tonight, the final debate. I want to welcome the First Family and the First Lady. We're so glad and thankful that you are feeling better.
Trump's final debate.
The Biden family, Dr. Jill Biden. Thank you all for being here tonight. We are so excited. We're looking forward to a really robust discussion. And the only thing I would reiterate are the CPD guidelines that when the candidates are talking, please hold any applause or any other reactions, except of course when they walk out. Make sure you cheer and loud and applause so that everyone can hear you. Thank you for having me. This is really the honor of a lifetime. I am gonna sit down and just get organized and get settled, and The show will start very soon. Thank you for being here.
Soonly, it's an adverb. Welcome everybody. For those of you watching and not chatting, that's fine. You can just watch. Most people just watch. For those of you in the chat room, good to see you. If you'd like to join the chat room, it's very easy. That mostly is YouTube. So go to heavenlyfather.com. Go to heavenlyfather.com and you can sign up to contribute and keep this thing up and running. Go to youtube.com/heavenlyfather and you can get up in the chat room there. I am doing stuff right now. And I want to get it up and running before we get going here. So there we go. Going to be able to pump the volume up so that you guys can hear everything. How was the introduction? Could we hear her? She was, the introduction itself was not that enthusiastic. How was her volume, guys? YouTube, you're about, let's find out. YouTube right now is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds behind. So you guys are right up on top of it. We've got ultra low latency. Twitter's about 25 seconds usually. So let's just see what happens, kids. I'm going to turn their volume down because it's going to blast when we first get going here. Okay. Going to go back for a second and just get a volume level on them.
Including Yvonne Howe and John Griffin, who are with us tonight, in welcoming you to the 24th presidential debate sponsored and organized by the Commission.
That should be good. All right. Now it's just time for the Max Debaters. How's everybody? How's my volume? Let's get rid of this. And I don't know why Trump released the 60 Minutes interview, except, of course, to just damage 60 Minutes. Just to hit him back hard. Because you hit him back 10 times harder. That's what you do when you're a Trump. Did Trump decide not to show up for the debate? Is that what's going on? Oh, hi, Magical Tech. Well, if Magical Tech says the sound is good, I mean, it's right in the name. Boop, 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 boop. This is it. This is the last debate. And then there's less than 48 days until we find out who won the election. Woo! USA! USA! US! I think regardless of who wins the debate, everyone's voted already. So I voted. See? I'm so happy. I'm so proud that I pointed to the right side. Again, I'm just getting used to doing everything backwards. I've been playing tennis with my left hand just to help the live stream. Losing all the games just for you people. Waiting. You know what I should do? I'll pull up the latest Lost in Trumpslation so you guys can watch that. Some of you guys helped me with it. Uno momento, please. Okay, we'll pull that up and here it comes. Oh, good. No items because I spelt it incorrectly. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. They are running behind, are they not? Yeah, it's 2 minutes past now. Okay, maybe they're giving time for the networks to do their things. Here we go. I will stop this as soon as I see anybody walk out on the stage. This was his latest right here. Here is Lost in Trumpslation. Recently, President Trump visited Erie, Pennsylvania without the First Lady, our national motto. Who unfortunately, we were told, couldn't attend because of the China virus. Or is that just what the deep state wants you to believe? Fortunately, you have me, your the screen needs to be smaller. I'm really glad I did this so that I knew that. Give me just a second here, guys, and I'll fix that. There's your background music. Right there. Here we go. That's what we need all the way down. And now let's bring it down here and we will make it cut from the very top. Nope, that wasn't it. So please hold and I'll fix it up. I think I can. I think I did, and now we're good. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum. Almost there. Here it comes together. Man, I swear I don't like the weather. Okay, are we still? We're still waiting. Okay, here we go. We're going for it, kids. Let's jump in. Recently, President Trump visited Erie, Pennsylvania without the First Lady, our national motto. Who unfortunately, we were told, couldn't attend because
Are they
of
coming?
China virus. Or is that just what the deep state
nobody
wants
likes
you?
it when Trump comes. Here we go. Let's go back into it, and maybe we watch that someday. Maybe we don't. Go ahead.
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
Boo! Boo! I turned on the closed captions. What? Why does everybody suddenly want the closed captions tonight?
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on, but on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
If you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country.
Nope,
and we're
that's
fighting
not
it. We're fighting
even
it
close
hard.
to being
There is
true.
a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it.
I thought he was going to say I was in the military.
And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure.
Nope, no one says that.
I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have,
I'm going to let him have that.
A problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden,
Wow,
to you, how
in
would
2
you
minutes.
lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Goggles.
220,000 Americans dead. You hear nothing else I say tonight. Hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day, and there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you
is
in
what
your
the
comments.
JAMA
You
said.
talked about
New
taking
England
a
JAMA.
therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be.
You
by
just
the
said
end
the
of the year,
vaccine is
but
ready.
I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the
What's his
vaccine.
name?
And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no
I don't think we're
plan.
going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker.
Correct that, Joe.
But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me.
The AstraZeneca patient was receiving
and
the placebo.
Frankly, he ran the H1N1
Died from COVID.
swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now. But it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff,
Ron Klain,
said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing.
Good.
Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said
Hunter
we should
Biden.
make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like
it's not going to be a dark winter.
He has the ability to lock himself up.
That's a point for Joe.
He's obviously made a lot of money someplace.
That's a good laugh.
But he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9% of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover.
Nope.
We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch out of habit where their wife or husband is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he has never said, he said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take
Don't
full
let it dominate.
responsibility.
No, it's his question now.
It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part.
I take full responsibility.
But they didn't keep
It's
it
not
from
my
coming
fault.
out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry, the warm weather. Don't worry, maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
Look at him.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this.
He was not.
When I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months.
No.
Nope. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing, you're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You
I
certainly did.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
That's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different
Come on,
strategies
Joe.
for dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would
That's a point
support
for
these
Trump.
shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the neighborhood, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California.
Forget about
you look at
him. You're
Pennsylvania,
debating
North
him.
Carolina. Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before.
That's not true.
There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true.
Point for Biden.
We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Damn right.
We ought to be able to safely open, but when they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money.
The right wing will not get that
Putting
humor.
up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000
Who's
people.
Kristen?
11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when
about...
you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed. And they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them,
not
including
spiking,
Anthony. I get
by
along
the
very
way.
well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said,
He did not say
Anthony
that.
Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So
No.
he's allowed to make mistakes.
No,
he happens to be
never
a good person.
said that.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're
the
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I haven't.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president
That's
and
not
as
the
somebody
way it
that
works.
knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America.
What
I
are you
would
doing?
blow away every record,
Shut
but I don't want to do
up.
that because
What
it puts
are
me in a
you
bad
doing?
position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction
I don't know
of
how
the
to
money
score
that she
this.
was
All
able
right,
to.
gentlemen, we're going to
Don't
move
tell me
on.
about Wall
Average
Street.
contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to
I
move
have
on to
no
our next
idea how to
section,
score
which
that.
is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question. Why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife.
That's a gift right there.
There's $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night,
really
I knew all about that. And through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said, the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year.
Nope.
That's to guard against Russia.
That's over 4 years.
I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them. But you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Yeah.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30 seconds.
Here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I told my accountants under audit, I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So
That's the way
prepaid.
taxes
Nobody
work.
told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me.
Can
And
you
it wasn't
fire your
written
accountants
whenever
right
they
now?
write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China.
Why would you do that?
I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask
Trying
you
not
both
to
some
laugh.
questions
I have
about
to
all of this,
respond to
but I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon
a
as the audit is
deadline for
finished.
when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
a time.
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS,
And
very
it's taken
unfairly.
4 years now.
But we had a deal all done. As
5.
soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding
let
your
Biden
potential
respond.
foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
about
about this more broadly. Respond
he
very
must-
quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Thank you.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years
Everybody
you're going to
knows.
release your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very
So
quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to 2 questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started.
I just checked on the IRS website. No, he's not self-employed and is expecting to pay more taxes. He didn't prepay his taxes. That's just a load of hooey. Millions of dollars. It's complete nonsense.
Started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place
So
spent
unfair.
$48 million.
So
They went through
unfair.
everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. $48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent $1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because
All
the
right.
kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your
Go
family
ahead.
has taken. I mean, your brother made
You're a
money
billionaire.
in Iraq.
Do it.
Millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune.
Brother.
And it's all through
Hello,
you, Joe.
Fada.
And they say you get some of it. And you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask
Oh,
some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden.
Let him respond to that. I got 2 houses. We've done okay. I had a best-selling book on the New York Times bestseller.
There have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian
Why?
energy company when
Why
you
are
were
we
vice
talking
president.
about this?
In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
But her
Nothing was
emails.
unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably.
Yep.
I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
That may be factually
President
true.
Trump,
I don't know.
Let me
By the
ask
way-
my question to you.
But
and
could
then
I just
you'll-
one?
He meant to say Moscow.
Very quickly.
His son
Clear that up. Clear that up. Ask him the question. Follow it up.
didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. $183,000, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly, and then I need to get
dishonest.
to a question to you. Very
No
quickly.
basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing
Where are they listed?
business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's when it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was going to do, I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you.
goes.
We do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one.
That's not entirely accurate. The trouble is he's not giving me a frame of reference to use it from. So up since when and down since when? Yes. Up since he came into office? Yes. Down since the peak? Yes. It's tough to say.
One. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them.
Quick update from Daniel Dale of CNN. It's not true that Hunter Biden did not have a job when he was appointed to Burisma in 2004. He was a lawyer at a firm. He was an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. He was a chairman of the board of World Food Program USA and CEO of investments from Rosemont Seneca Advisors. Also, the Mueller investigation, I gave him a lie for this, cost $32 million, not $48 million. Also, Biden has two houses. One of them he bought for $350,000 in 1996. Heavens! And the other one he bought for $2.7 million in 2017 after he signed his lucrative book deal. That was after he was, of course, not VP anymore. When you have a number one best-selling book, it's books. They pay money.
Economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay, very quickly, and then
His
we're
son
going to move on
walked
to
out
North
with $1.5
Korea.
billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year.
A strong email. How do I score? I'm going to call it a lie. But what, do I give Biden a point for that? Do I give Trump a point? I don't know. I have no idea what to do with that.
For introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though.
Well, if it was a perfect phone call, I'd be like, okay, now I get it. But
what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from
yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is. It's called China.
Interrupted.
China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
He's yelling. He's being picked up by the other mics. That's the echo.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North
I'm not a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times.
See, that was Joe's perfect opportunity to say, don't dismiss the American family. That is what you do, and that is why we're here, Mr. Donald.
You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test, and yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what?
That's
it
a
would
lie.
be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
9 million people in Seoul.
Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because
now?
I'd make it clear.
Up to 11 million, depending on what site you look at. But yeah, 9 to 11 million people. He said there's 30 million in Seoul before. The thing about Trump is he doesn't have anybody in his sphere of influence that can influence him. He has no sphere of influence.
Which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal because here's I made it clear and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, a thug, and he talks about how we're better off, and they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
Kristen, they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship
Trump, we
with
have to
leaders
move
of other
on.
countries.
We have a good relationship with North Korea. They literally just had a big parade where they trotted out these 11 Axel missiles saying, hey, look out. We can get everybody in the United States if we want to. So, yeah, that's a good relationship.
Because we have a lot of we have a lot of questions to get to.
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk
He
about
left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do
They
need to
left
move on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
if-
Don't let him do this. And, yeah, there's no such thing as a mask. But if there is, you should wear one.
In fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess, and Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated.
Does not help people get health care.
It's gone.
You terminated it, but go on.
Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision, run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down, everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero.
Yes,
you can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting for 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response to them? I say
it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now
got
there
Obamacare.
as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago.
He
was
got
3
Obamacare
3/4.
through.
It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants.
He wants it, but it's not that he wants it.
It even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way.
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
he goes for a year. There will be no fracking. There
We
will
do
be
have
no
a number
petroleum.
we have a number of topics we're going to get to.
That's a big question.
We're going to get to. We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized medicine.
I have to respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening
public
on Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine and health care. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare Totally
Wrong.
destroyed, and destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
let's let Vice President Biden respond. It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden
a very
responds.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of, he tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm going to move on. Mr. President, I have to move on to the next.
Thanks for the specifics, Mr. President. Go back and look. Okay.
Question.
They say the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more. $700 billion more, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on,
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are.
He lived there for 9 years. He was born and raised there. How many years do you have to be in one place to be counted from there? I've honestly, I don't know if I've spent 9 years in Canada.
I
guess I have.
And as
altogether.
of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get it.
I
Unfortunately,
do.
that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her.
It's here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I.
I got to capture that. Sorry, guys. I was trying to make it through, but.
Relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have.
Does he think he just got proposed to? I do.
Some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone.
Nancy Pelosi already approved the HEROES Act in May.
Through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President.
If we made a
Biden,
deal,
because
the Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so they then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The
with
bill
these
that was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By the way,
I want
if
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice
He just stole that. He just started, he just cut in, and he just kept going. And everyone stayed quiet and listened to him. That's a point for Biden. Holy crap, it's 17-1 now.
President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. It's not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to get
said we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
we have
recently.
to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing
Hit 'em with
wages?
it.
What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen,
Yes.
is when you do
Hit
that,
'em
these
with it.
small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum
it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to
What I
$15 an
really
hour. Is
like,
that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really like,
administration?
in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad.
That is true. Every different place is a different place. He's really hitting the target there. I'm going to give him a point for that. What the hell? He's behind by so many now.
In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President Trump, thank you. Quick
No
response,
one
Vice
should
President
work
Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Yeah, you
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border.
That's how you go down an escalator. So they would bring them in by escalators. They would up over the wall, and then we had escalators on the American side.
we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you reunite these kids with their families,
Let me just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built. In 2014, that was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids?
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these
Oh, are you trying very hard to get the orphans back to their parents that you separated? Is that what you're doing? You're trying very hard. Could you write a very strong email? Could you do that maybe?
kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this
525
conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents.
Smart. He said 525 first and then realizes he's a 525 twice. 500 plus. And then he's got to do this. So that helps people understand.
They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed
did
it.
not
They built the
separate
cages.
they,
who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about.
Here we go.
What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this.
immigration.
They
10
went down.
seconds,
We
and then
brought
I need to ask
reporters,
you.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them
Wow.
haven't been
Such good.
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages?
They have Game Boys and they have their own beds with brown blankets. They don't need their parents. Really, kids, as long as you got 3 squares and a PlayStation, maybe a 2. I don't want to go as far as 3 because, we're not made of money. Does he think this is helping him? You trying to win back suburban moms?
I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids.
Holy crap. He might have just lost the election, kids.
They're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship.
Holy
the idea
crap.
that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President
Kristen,
Trump,
he
your
had
reaction.
8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and
The DACA program was established under Barack Obama through executive order because the Republicans wouldn't cooperate. That's why the Democrats need to have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. That's why for the first time in my life, I voted blue all the way down the line.
release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President
Wrong.
Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
Of course I support DACA.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster.
Immigration.
A murderer would
Immigration of the laws.
come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have
With their family? Is that how they came in?
to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really...
They do.
I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
but they're
President
very
Trump, let's
hard
give
to
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Oh,
The law
God.
is telling you it's simply not true.
Oh, only the low IQs come back for their court cases.
True.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on
But we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about
Let's
it
move
anymore.
on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
Boom.
All right, let's talk about
Did he
our
say
next
good?
section, which is race in America.
Did he just say good?
Let's move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name.
So we don't have to worry about
Let's
it
move
anymore.
on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about our next
He
section,
said-
which
he said
is
go ahead.
race in
He said
America.
go ahead.
And I want to talk about the way Black and Brown Americans
No, he said
experience
go
race
ahead.
in this country. Part
Wow.
of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child, when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they
He's got his mic cut. He said not true.
have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln,
Possible.
nobody has done.
Freed the slave. Possible. Enjoy. But hey, we got some jobs in the inner city. The minimum wage hasn't been raised. Don't get excited.
What I've done. Criminal justice reform. Obama and Joe didn't do it.
That was Hillary who said super predator, yeah.
I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it.
There's no record of Biden ever saying super predator.
They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that.
No, this 11 million path to citizenship, this is brand new. This is basically saying all of the illegal aliens, you get to vote. And that could swing the election. That was not a smart move. It may not matter at this point, but it could. It could swing the election. Trump is not smart enough to pick up on it right now. If that's me, I pick up on it, and I'm a horrible person. Yeah, that is what the masses in America in the swing states have been fearing for years.
That done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of
They've got an automatic timer on the mics. That's interesting.
your records, but your response to that, Vice President.
My response to that is
I think he said beneficiary. He usually says beneficiary, Kim, but I think he actually finished the word that time. It's just he's not entirely clear.
never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is a guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up
questions. If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
From hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a...
I'm going to give Trump a point for that, because his base will eat that up. They will love that exchange, and that's all we're going to see on Fox for the next week. But it's not going to sway independent voters. Biden gets a point as well, by the way. Actually, you know what? I want to take a point away from Biden for that.
The symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. They can say anything. It makes me sad, because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay. Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy has a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up question.
He made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in?
You said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
You said,
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has any.
He doesn't get metaphors. He does not understand how they work. I'm giving Biden another point.
Anybody done what I've done for the black community? Now, you have done nothing.
And if I look at Biden laughing right now, I really hope he verbalizes that. It's like, you can't even insult this guy because he's not smart enough to get metaphors. Just say that.
Other than the crime bill, which put
oh God,
tens of thousands of black men mostly in jail.
All right, let me,
And you know
let me,
what?
a- let me
They
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly.
The-
Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Okay.
bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released
You didn't get
38,000.
anything
We got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked one question. Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
That's it. I'm giving him a point for that.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe.
All right.
Sometimes you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did with
is
criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different
Hey, Chris.
visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change and climate warming, global warming, is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit limit emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, you know,
Hold on, I want to hear who that was who says his mic was off at the beginning of it. Wall Street Journal?
On the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said
Wall Street
very
Journal.
strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, you know, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings,
okay, that study was done by the Hoover Institute. That's the right-wing conservative thinky tank out of Stanford, the same one that we got Dr. Atlas out of. So take that with a grain of salt.
They want to take buildings down because I want to.
Moody's, who are actually is economic forecasting, they say Biden's going to add a ton of jobs, etc. So two different perspectives. One is Dr. Scott Atlas, the radiologist, saying masks don't work. The other one are people that deal with money all the time.
Make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to.
Country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queen.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first
Yeah, just let her say, please respond, and then respond. We don't have to talk over her and tell her to be quiet.
time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do.
We are not energy independent. He does not know more than wind about Joe does.
It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds. It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist
Solar.
said that.
I
Not
love
true.
solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
Now
let me
ask
let
him
me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is
Show
he's
the list.
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer.
See, Trump has played that tape. Biden's people should have prepped him on this. This is absolutely terrible. But this debate could end the election, folks. Trump could win again. This is absolute 5 days of prep, and he comes up with that. I'm giving Trump some points here. Wow. Biden has said that, but not in that context. He has decided, no, we're not going to allow any fracking on federal lands, which is only 3% of the land that you could frack on, technically speaking. But they do have a videotape of him saying that, but it's out of context. But it will get played over and over and over. Terrible prep work.
We need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do.
You just have to watch a couple of Trump's rallies to know this. Where are Biden's people? God. Seriously, next time, whoever the Democrat is, give me a call before you go to a debate like this.
With fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then we have.
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking and or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section.
Let's go back.
and then I will
His party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking and or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in.
It's okay. Trump just said he didn't say federal. So, yeah, but I wish Trump had said that louder because the American people need to hear that. I'm giving Biden a point back on that.
This section, and then I want to move on to our final section.
No, still terrible. Still terrible. I know he finally finished it up with the weak little ending there, but that's not what's going to be shown. You have to understand you can't hand the other side ammunition, and that's what he did there. And the states that matter, they have that ammo.
President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are...
Thank you, Lizzie. You're now my favorite. He should have said that right at the very beginning. They knew this was coming. This is a standard attack. If you watch the, what was it, Erie, Pennsylvania, or was it South Carolina? Wherever they were. The rally a couple of nights ago, last night? It's all together. They had a big screen, a big screen. as opposed to one of those little big screens. They showed it up on the big screen. They showed an anti-fracking thing by Biden up on the big screen. Yes, it was chopped to heck, and it wasn't representative of the true opinion of Biden, but they have that.
There are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they are making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made.
Employed
if
heavily.
you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under.
Both African American and Hispanic American unemployment levels are higher than white Americans, as they always are. But they have been hit disproportionately by the COVID virus. Disproportionately.
In 3 years than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics.
He's slowing down. Trump is crashing at this point. I have not heard specific statistics.
2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. Okay. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All right.
And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Okay. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania? Oh.
So what Biden should say there is give a date. In 30 years, we would like to be switched totally to renewable energy, like BP is doing now, like Chevron is doing now, investing in renewable energies because they see the future. They know that things have to change, like Exxon with Rex Tillerson was doing when Exxon was run by Rex Tillerson. There's ways to present this.
Oklahoma.
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
gonna get
question
China to
both
do
of you.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going to get
move on
China?
Okay, good save by Biden. I'm giving him a point for that.
Our final question. We have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our...
During the impeachment, everybody wanted to get together during the impeachment hearings. The country has never been more together.
Country, Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy, we can deal with the systemic racism, and at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden.
She handled that really well. They stayed in check for her for the most part. Very, very good job by Kristen Welker. Congratulations.
Thank you to Belmont.
Best of both the debates.
University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a couple of minutes here. Just go check out and see what everybody says about all of it. Let's go to the old YouTube's TVs and see what's happening. There are no spin rooms. Normally they'd be going in and they'd be talking to all of the candidates. Why they have Donna Brazile on there? Why is Donna Brazile still a thing on Fox News? Let's join live and see what they said here. We're a few minutes behind real time.
Covered by Mylar
let's see, it's
blankets,
7:49, so we're about
supervised by
20 minutes after the
contractors
actual ending.
in a watchtower. It makes me sick every time I recall it. And physicians are rounding the corner. Quote. Their spouses join them on stage.
Melania's got a mask on.
Been told to follow the coronavirus protocols. The first couple, of course, have
her mask matches.
Both had the illness. And the most urgent topic of our times led off tonight, as Kristen Welker pointed out. We have 40,000 Americans hospitalized tonight.
There it is. Did we see what the other two did? I got like 5,000 views on a YouTube video of the hugs. Remember last time Ivanka just came up and just touched his arm.
Of the debate venue as their spouses join
She comes
them
up
on
and
stage. Everyone there has been told to follow the
doesn't touch him.
coronavirus protocols. The first couple, of course,
maybe we'll take a look at other angles.
And the most urgent topic
Did I say
of our
Ivanka?
times,
Melania.
led off tonight, as Kristen Welker pointed out. We have 40,000 Americans hospitalized tonight.
Touch on the lower back.
President,
That's
though,
it.
went back to his standard themes and did not digress. Quote, it will go away. Quote, we're rounding the corner. Quote, it is going away. And
Okay, let's check out the other, let's see if we can find some other feeds. And we'll go back to the C-SPAN one if it's still going. Donna Brazile, no reason. Oh, did it? This did not record, so.
He's been the best president, in my judgment, for all Americans.
Here we go, and let's see if we can see this.
And who wanted the crime bill.
Presidential
The
debate,
context was
so
the
the
crack
end is
epidemic
nigh.
was
There it
tearing through
is.
black communities. And
is history. Our cameras will stay on this view of the debate venue as their
Trump
spouses
does not
join
put on
them
his mask.
on stage. Everyone there has been told to
This might be the same cameras.
follow the
I think these are the same
coronavirus
cameras.
protocols. The first couple, of course, have both had.
Wait a minute, we just watched this. Sorry, this is the same course. That's Brian Williams. It's the same one. Hold on, let's go. No, I don't want to verify my own. Okay, we're not going to be able to see that. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Melania comes up. Yeah, they're all coming off the same camera feed. Yeah, the other two are not touching. There's a good hug. They're holding hands. Biden comes over. You did a great job. You did a really great job. Thank you so much, I'm sure. Trump takes Melania's hand and throws it off. Oh boy, check this out. Watch the hand. They're holding hands for the pictures. He says thank you very much. And he throws her hand away. Get out of here. Gives her a push. Wow. They have an interesting dynamic, don't they? As she said, she's leaving right after the election. Get out of here. Okay. She beckons him, brings him along with her. Wow. And cameras are clicking. Different views of relationships there. You think that was her pulling her hand away? It looked more like, I don't know if she was pulling or he was getting rid of. I think it's more she's probably pulling away because then he reaches out to touch her and she takes off quicker. Let's watch it in that context. One more time. Here we go. There's the hug. This time we'll watch for Melania. Pulls the hand away. Trump reaches out. Melania now. Standing. Waiting. Pulls her hand away. She did. She pulled the hand away. And Trump just smacks her in the back. Fine. Don't do that. Yeah. Melania pulls the hand away. Wow. One more time. Let's go right back to the beginning to watch this whole family dynamic. What?
You were muted.
Yeah, now I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone's telling me that I'm muted. Yeah. I knew as soon as I was recording that. Hope, did I stop the recording? I think I did. I did. Okay, I'm getting hot now. Did Biden wave at Trump too? And he didn't. Trump didn't wave back. Let's see, does he? Okay, going back. And looking at his opponent. Waiting, he says thank you. Yeah, if Trump loses, I think he gets out of there. I think he's done. Okay, bye. He does. Oh, Poor Joey. He's having a good time. His wife is like, let's go. Let's go, baby. Let's go home. I'll take care of you. That's nice. That's good people. Okay, kids. Trump probably didn't see it. He can be accommodating. He can be charming. And there's the Trump family with their masks on. At the beginning, they didn't have their masks on, so good for them. And that is the very end. Someone came and touched Kristen Welker for some reason. I don't know. Put on your hand sanitizers. Good work. Now what I want to know is Leslie Stahl, when she was looking through the book and the picture that Trump posted, the empty book of the Trump healthcare plan, were those pages blank? That's what I want to know. That's why I'll still be watching, even though we've seen the interview. I will still be watching 60 Minutes on Sunday night. Okay,
and now
that's
it's
the end
time
of it,
to hear from
and
you
my voice
and
is
get your
gone,
reaction
and
to
it has
this
been a
final
pleasure,
debate
folks.
of 2020.
And that was
We're going to put the numbers up on the screen if you want to dial in. 202 is the area code.
This is what we do. Final score: Biden 31, Trump 14. Lies. Trump dominating in that department, 78-2. That's the end of that broadcast. You guys can watch your highlight shows and analysis. I'm going to go watch the new Borat because it's out. It's out tomorrow, but it's out today. It's on the Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, go watch yourselves the Borats. If you've forgotten the first Borat, we watched it last night, and now the kids are running around the house. Alexa, turn on Blaking for how long to make meat. Great success. So, very nice. Go watch that one because the first one is funnier than you remember it. The newscaster's still talking right now? Oh, I didn't have my headphones on. I don't care. So, yeah, I'm muted. There's no reason for me to be here, but I did vote. Ah, damn it. I got it wrong. I did vote. The sticker's on me. I should know where it is. So we're going to watch Borat. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the broadcast. Thanks, everybody, for the internet. Holy crap. We dropped... It counts the frames that we drop when the internet's not working. We dropped, in 2 hours and 51 minutes and 16 seconds, we dropped 0 frames. So thank you, everyone who supported. Everybody's name down at the bottom here. Allison and Jojo Rabbit and at Random. And now I got to say everybody. Producer Green Room, who's now a producer, adjusted himself on the herself, itself. I don't know. Marcy, Maurice, Charlie. Hopefully Green Room's in bed already. I'm very excited. Yeah. That's a terrible Borat. I got to do like a voiceover audition tomorrow with an accent, and better work on my accents overnight. Any news on the T-shirts? I don't know. I should talk to Chris Wilson. Or no, producer Rich. I'll get in touch with you. Now it is time to go because I'm now starting to sweat in here, and it's been a lovely day up until now. We finally got a little bit of moisture in the morning. Now that we've talked about the weather, I'm going to say goodbye. Once more, the recap of the president leaving the stage. Gets the hand ripped away from him by the First Lady and responds with,
"Where are you going?"
I hate this house! I hate this house!
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Allison, if I didn't say thank you, Allison. Thank you, Chuck, if you're Charles, which I assume you are. Thank you, Tammy. It's bedtime. Oh, thank you, Chris. I got to find Kristen Welker saying thank you, Kevin, put up there. Thank you, Dr. Howard. Okay, good night, everybody. Be good to each other.